Hi folks, and welcome back. This video is all about campcraft, kit and a bit of cooking. I wanted to set myself a bit of a challenge for this video with regards to kit. Bushcraft gear can be really expensive, and when you're starting out it can be a bit sort of daunting as to how much it's going to cost you. So I wanted to see what £100 would get you. Could I gather together a full and complete bushcraft kit for under £100 and use only that kit for a bushcraft overnight camp? Starting with this rucksack, this is a vintage Italian Army surplus pack, absolutely huge, about 50 litres I'd say, plenty big enough for all of your bushcraft gear. It's got two big pockets on the front with webbing straps and metal buckles, and one big compartment on the inside with this strange sort of canvas flap which holds in place with a chain. The chain is quite awkward to use. You've got to sort of pass the chain through these wire loops, if you like, that go through these grommets, and it just sort of snags up. It's a bit of a pain to sort of pass it through, so I'm probably going to just take it off here. But being a chain, it's quite useful for bushcrafting anyway, because you could use it as a pot hanger, so worth keeping. And then I'll probably just replace that with paracord. It has these simple carrying straps here with webbing thumb loops, which are quite comfortable just to tuck your thumbs in while you're walking. And this pack cost me the grand total of £18 off eBay. So not a lot of money. It's got a nice sort of vintage look to it, and it's certainly big enough to carry all of your bushcraft kit. Next up, we've got a water bottle and cup. This is British Army issue, one of the Osprey water bottles, really robust, can't really go wrong with them. And the matching plastic cup which goes on the top, that cost me £5 from my local Army surplus store. A torch is always a good idea when you're out camping in the woods at night, so I found this in my local garden centre of all places. It cost me £1.50 and I already had some batteries at home, so yeah, it's a LED torch. I couldn't find a head torch that would work within budget, so I've just made this simple webbing strap that will go around my head, and the torch just is held in place with a loop of elastic. And then we've got a ferro rod here, just an 8mm ferro rod. That cost me £4.40 I think, again off eBay. This is the cheapest cooking pot I could find on eBay. It's a stainless steel kettle. It's got a bail handle so you can hang it up. It's got handles on the side so you can grab it. It's got a lid. It's full of my dinner for later. And it's got a pouring spout on the front so you can use it for tea and for brewing tea and things. It holds 1.2 litres, and well, I don't know how good it'll be, but it's reasonably thick stainless steel. I think it should do the job, and it comes with this little pouch. That cost just under £10 on eBay. For shelter, I've got another bit of Army surplus here. This is a British Army issue tarp or basher. These things are really good. I'll put this up in a minute and you'll see it in a bit more detail, but these are cheap. I bought this for £15 from the same place I bought the water bottle, and you just can't go wrong with them really. Camouflage pattern on them, and in here I've got some paracord. I bought 30 metres or 100 feet of paracord for £7 off eBay. It's just the cheap Chinese stuff. I cut 3 lengths at 5 metres and just melted the ends so they don't fray, and what was left I used to secure the bed, which I'll talk about in a minute, the bed that you saw me make at the beginning of the video. I've got a sleeping bag here. This is a British Army modular Arctic sleeping bag. Cost me £22. You know, it's a big brute of a bag, it's heavy, but they're warm, and it means that you haven't got to worry about trying to keep your fire going all night to stay warm, you know, you can just hunker down into this thing and you're going to be all right, you're going to be warm. And finally, some cutting tools. I've got a folding saw here, which I bought for £6 off eBay. This thing is rubbish. In fact, it's dangerous. The locking sort of tab thing there doesn't work, and the blade just wobbles around all over the place. While I was cutting the poles for the bed, this thing closed on my finger and cut my finger open. Don't waste your money on this. I bought it because I wanted to keep the cost down and keep everything within budget, but spend a little bit more, get yourself a Laplander. This is not fit for purpose. And finally, we've got a Mora companion. If you saw my recent video on knives, you'll know I'm a big fan of these. They're great knives. I bought this one especially for this video. This is a stainless steel version, and these cost £9.50, which is nothing, is it, really, for a really good knife. They're 3/4 tang, plenty strong enough for most of what you're going to need to use it for in camp. And finally, we've got some work gloves. Always a good idea when you're handling rough bits of wood and things around camp and handling hot things out of the fire. I'm actually not going to include these in the running total because they tip me slightly over the £100, but these cost £7, and I'm gonna treat them as clothing. I'm not including the rest of my clothing in the total, so I'm not going to include these, but work gloves are always a good idea. Some of these items you could do without. I mentioned about the sleeping bag. You could do without that, but you're going to have to keep your fire stoked all night long. The shelter, same, you know, tarp. You could build yourself a shelter out of logs and debris to keep yourself dry and warm. But what a tarp does is it gives you time. It gives you time to focus on other things. It takes a long time to build a shelter, so if you take that time out of the equation, you've got more time to spend doing the fun things and building other things in and around camp. I've cut up all that wood, which was no easy job with that silly little saw, I can tell you. And then I've split down one of those logs here just into smaller pieces and little thin pencil-sized pieces, and I made some feather sticks as well, which I'm going to use as tinder to get the fire going. One of the things I did to my Mora here when it arrived was to file away the spine just in this area here. Moras come with a kind of rounded edge on the spine there, as I said in my knife video last week, and that's no good for striking against the ferro rod. So just take a file and just create a nice sharp edge. You should be able to just strike that on your ferro rod and create some sparks. I'm going to get some dinner on the go. Because this video is going to be out on St. Patrick's Day, I thought I would do a kind of loosely Irish themed dinner, or based dinner. Somebody had contacted me from the States to ask if I'd do a sort of St. Patrick's Day corned beef and cabbage, and I'd never heard of it, so I did a bit of research, and it's one of those things that isn't really an Irish tradition, but it's become a St. Patrick's Day tradition in the States, if you see what I mean. What is much more Irish is, of course, the good old Irish stew, which has lamb in it. So I've got some cubed lamb here, just a few pieces, enough for me. And then to go with that, I've got a potato, a small carrot, and a small onion. And then I've got some lamb stock. Of course, traditionally you'd make your own stock by boiling down the bones and all the rest of it. I've got a bit of oil to just brown the lamb and the onion, and then in here I've got some lamb gravy, some of that Bisto Best stuff, which is really good, and that will just help to thicken it at the end. I split down a bit of ash here to use as a chopping board. It was just on the limit of being able to batten down. I managed to do it by whacking the handle and the tip, what was the tiny bit of tip that was sticking out there, and I just managed to drive the knife down and split it. So I'm going to start by just chopping an onion. Bit of oil, and on it goes. Just going to give those onions a bit of a head start, and then I'll put the lamb in. While the meat's browning, I'm just going to prepare the other vegetables. I'm not going to peel them, I'm just going to put them straight in. Into the pot with the lamb and onion. A little bit of water. And a Knorr lamb stock pot. So that's all in. There's just one more ingredient I need. Some not so wild thyme. Well, the stew is nearly done, about another 5 minutes I reckon. Yeah, which is good because I'm really hungry. In the meantime, I'm just enjoying a Guinness as it's St. Patrick's Day. Well, it isn't, but it will be when this video comes up. Maggie's doing really well. Yeah, she continues to improve, you know, every day. Well, she's pretty much back to normal, really. Running around, looning around. She's been up to the gate a couple of times to see what I'm up to, but I can't really let her into this part of the garden. It's not secure, and if she comes in here, she just automatically makes a beeline for other people's gardens. And it's just not fair on my neighbours, do you know what I mean? She'll just be off just wreaking havoc in their vegetable patches and just being a pain. So I don't really let her into this bit of the garden. And I mean, it's one thing during the day where I can keep an eye on her, but at night, you know, she'll just be wandering off, which is why she's not up here with me. But she is doing well, which is really good. I've got a trip planned for next month with Andy at Kent Survival. Yeah, this is a trip that we planned to do this a long time ago, but you know, the first lockdown happened and it didn't happen, and then we met up between that first lockdown and the second one, and we toyed about doing the trip then, and then it didn't happen, and we went into lockdown again. So hopefully, all going well, as long as nothing happens to scupper the plans. That should happen next month, which is really good. That'll be a canoe trip, but something a bit different. Yeah, really looking forward to that. Yeah. Okay, I think we're pretty much there. So I'm just going to put some of this gravy in, and normally I'd hoik all of the veg and the meat and everything out, so I just had a liquid left in there, and then it's much easier to sort of thicken it when it's just a liquid. You can sort of whisk it and stir it, but I haven't got anything to put the the meat and the vegetables into, so I'm just going to have to do it this way and hope for the best. Yeah, that's looking good. Oh yes, some big old lumps of lamb, potato, carrots. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this. Let's try a bit of lamb. It's really hot. Cheers. This is the sleeping bag that I got for £22. It's an Arctic bag, like I said, and mine came with a liner in it. They don't all come with this, but luckily mine had it in. It adds a little bit of warmth, I guess, to it. Yeah, it's a good bag. Central zip, draw corded hood, and behind the liner here are 2 pockets, one on each side. Mesh pockets here, and they're designed for drying your socks overnight. If you have damp socks, you can put them in there and your body warmth will dry them overnight. Yeah, it's a good bag, really big, really generous, massive baffle here where the zip goes, keep all that warmth locked in. And yeah, not a lot more to say about it really. They're big and bulky and they're heavy, but they do the job and they keep you warm. Controversially, I have a different hot chocolate this evening. This one is from Norway and was kindly sent to me by a subscriber. So we'll give this a little whirl. It's really nice. Well, I'm going to get this finished up, stoke the fire up, and crawl into this green bunker and try and get a good night's sleep. Obviously, you know, sleeping on a raised bed, they're not the most comfortable. They're a bit like sleeping on a badly made park bench, but they keep you up off the ground, and therefore you don't get that cold. You know, the cold from the ground just sucks every bit of heat out of you. Otherwise, at least being up off the ground, I'll be warmer, but I don't expect it to be particularly comfortable. I had a little incident at work the other day and injured my side, my ribs, and that's kind of like spread around to my back. So probably sleeping on a load of twigs is not the best idea, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Like I said before, you know, I tried to keep the cost of this kit under £100. If I'd had a bit more, then I would have probably added a carry mat or something to it. They don't cost a lot of money. You can just, you know, one of those foam ones will do the job, you know. One of them on top of this raised bed would be a good system. You'd be up off the ground, you'd have the comfort of the foam, and you'd sleep pretty well. But I'm sure I'll be all right on this tonight. Yeah, be all good. See you in the morning.
Morning, folks. I had a pretty terrible night's sleep. I was warm all through the night, lovely and warm, but I just kept waking up uncomfortable on this raised bed. There must be one or two of the poles that I put in that are slightly higher than the others, and they just dug in like ridges into my back. And I kept rolling over onto my side or onto my back, and I'd be comfortable for a while, and I'd sleep for a bit, for an hour maybe, and then I'd be woken up again, and I'd have to roll over and get comfortable again. But that's the way it is. Like I said last night, you know, you can beef up this kit with, you know, very little cost actually. A foam roll mat's what, £10 maybe. Especially if you get hold of one of those military surplus ones. They're a bit thicker and a bit better than the cheapy ones you can buy, and that would make loads of difference. And you can get away without the raised bed. Then of course you can just put it straight on the ground and sleep straight on the ground, so you haven't got the bed to build. But yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with how everything has worked. Really, all the kit. The sleeping bag, like I said, has been brilliant. It's really warm. It's huge as well. There's masses of room in there. You can roll over easily. It's not, you know, it's not tight to you. I guess it's designed for a soldier in all of his gear, you know, to sleep in. So yeah, that was good. The tarp, well, they're just brilliant anyway. I've had these before. These British Army bashes have loads of tie-out points. They're designed so that you can fold them in half and use them as a stretcher. They've got handles on them for use as a stretcher. And they're perfect for one person. You can set them up in any number of ways. Just as a lean-to like this is great, but you can set it up more as like a, you know, a tent. Yeah, really good. The billy pot has been brilliant. You know, for such a cheap billy, it's just the right size for one person for a big meal. That stew I made last night was huge, and that was perfect in there. The lid is really good. It's got that bail handle. I mean, it's a bit rough and ready, you know, the rivets aren't really very central. Nothing quite lines up and stuff, but it works, so that's all good. The knife, again, excellent. You know, I can't believe how cheap those Moras are. I'll put links to all of the gear where I got them underneath in the description box. Just click on the video title and it'll pop up the description box, and you'll see the links all in there. Yeah, the knife was brilliant. They just come super sharp out of the box, ready to go. Like I said, just file that spine down a little bit so you can use it on a ferro rod. That makes all the difference. The ferro rod itself was good, but quite awkward to use without a handle on it because it's so small. You've got to really grip it tightly. So if you do get one of those, just put a handle on it, or maybe drill a hole through it and put a bit of paracord so you've got something to hold on to, you know, some of that thin micro cord. That would make it a bit easier to use. These gloves have been excellent. I've spent a lot of money on work gloves in the past, and these are as good, if not better. And they cost, I think they were $6.99 or something, made by Briars, and they're just cheap gardening thorn-proof gloves, but they're really good. They can handle picking up hot things as long as you're not handling them for too long. I was able to move logs around and pick up my pot and everything, and they were perfect, just the job. The torch is really good for £1.50. Yeah, you know, it's simple. It's just got one setting, but it's plenty bright enough, and you can turn that into a head torch just by making yourself a strap. And as for the rucksack, well, I don't think you can go wrong for £18. It's a nice looking pack. It's got that kind of cool vintage look to it. It's very simple, but it is huge. You've got a massive main compartment with that odd kind of flap thing, which I probably wouldn't bother with, and then a draw cord closure above that, which is all you really need. And then those two big pockets on the front, which are huge. You can carry loads of gear in them. I'm really happy with the gear, and just goes to show you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds on kit. You can get yourself set up for under £100, which is really good to know, especially if you're starting out. Yeah. Right, well, I'm going to get myself cleared away here, get things packed up, because I've got a breakfast date with Mrs. in the Woods this morning, which I don't want to miss. I want to get in and get showered, get rid of my smoky clothes and all the rest of it, and have some breakfast. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.